Hello and good evening to all of you. Good evening and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss the current affairs and Gazette magazine for 12th November 2021, that is today. Good evening to Funder. Hello Kriti. Hi Sam. Good evening Ashish. Hello Anil, Jyotsna. Hello Bhabani. How are you doing? Hello Javed. How are you? All right, good to have all of you here. So let us begin the Gazette discussion, an interesting discussion for today. All right. So today on Gazette, what do we have? We have some 3 snapshots. The first one on the integrated Ombudsman scheme introduced by the Prime Minister today itself. So we have covered this, and what is the scheme about? We will understand in the snapshot section. The second one, an update article from one of the important NGOs that conducts research activities in political arena. It has spoken about the donations which come from the regional political parties and many from the unknown sources. So we will discuss this snapshot, an important update. The third one is the global coal pledge, of which India is not a part. Why? We will understand that. India is also not a part of the global methane pledge, right? We will understand why. All right, Khushbu, good evening. Prabhani, yes. All right, great to know you are doing well. This day in history has been dedicated to Salim Ali. Who is he? What is he about? Have you known what is an ornithologist? All right, if you know, type it out. Featured news for today is on reforming public procurement. Reforming public procurement, how government procures its different kind of entities, substances, right? From as simple as office chairs, computers, to technical equipments, gadgets, defense equipments, anything that you call for. Government is one of the largest procurers in the country. It procures as much as 18 to 20% of the GDP of the country. Imagine that. And India's procurement levels are higher than the procurements at other countries. And therefore, how efficiently do we procure becomes a very, very important question. How much does Indian government spend on procurement? This is what we will understand in the featured news today at 6:45 p.m. live. All right, an important article from the perspective of governance and reformations. Image of the day is on rising sea levels. A very interesting image on this front. All right, bird watchers, absolutely correct. Yes, Javed, yes, Saurabh, you're absolutely correct. It is about birds, study of the birds, right? Research on them. So he has been, Salim Ali has been a very important person in this genre of studies. Sam, I am doing well, and rest you can see, right? Terms and concepts. We have four terms and concepts today. The first one being Airshed, very good concept. Second one is peak power deficit. The third one being like-minded developing countries, and the fourth one will cover it. There's been a copy here, but right in the terms, I have checked that part. So we have another fourth term, and I'll cover that as well, right? Editorials for today are first one, what about an insurance cover for natural calamities? Covered in business line, we will cover this. The second one is a vaccine waiver, that means TRIPS waiver for vaccine equity around the world, covered from Hindustan Times. And the third one again from Hindustan Times that we will cover today. Another mistake from here. Right, the third one is also there. I have covered this. We will cover that quickly. And case study of the day is from Khasi community. All right. So we will make these changes in the PDF and upload it again. It's already uploaded on the website. We'll upload it again, and I will discuss the new terms and new editorial. All right. So some mistakes there. All right. Good evening, Abhinav. How are you doing? All right, the first snapshot for today is on integrated ombudsman scheme. Do you know what an ombudsman means? Ombudsman is the person who resolves any kind of grievances or issues, right? So a European concept, something that originated in Norway, in United Kingdom, those countries in Europe. And now India has asked for placement of a single ombudsman, a single prime person who can solve the crisis, the kind of issues that general people face. So what are we talking of? One nation, one ombudsman scheme, right? So Prime Minister has inaugurated this scheme today, and earlier we did have ombudsman at various places. So every bank would place one person for grievance redressal who we can approach. And now over the top of all these persons, all the banks, NBFCs, there will be one person who will be an appellate authority. So in case our problem does not get solved at the intermediate level, at the bank level, Sorry, then we can directly appeal at the topmost level, that is the RBI integrated ombudsman, right? So that person will be able to look at this particular issue. Now, for the same, a centralized receipt and processing center has been created. So a centralized place where our tokens, our receipts will be generated, and those tokens will be given to us, and the person who has to respond will be accountable for this, right? So this is an important thing. This is not a body where you can apply in the beginning. This is an appellate body, you should remember. And in case our problems do not get solved at the first level, then we can go and apply here as well. So there will be one point of contact, one phone number, one email address, one place where we can put these kind of requests, right? So within 30 days, if we do not get our call, we can approach this particular body. All right. What else is there? We call it as a one nation, one ombudsman. So this is what becomes important. We are trying to integrate the problem resolution at one place for all the financial activities, right? Banks and non-banking financial firms, right? Right. So that is the reason that we have made it a multilingual, problem solving place. So multilingual, if you call them, there'll be multilingual solutions to these problems. Also, there are people who do not feel that their problem has been solved, although the token might have been raised and it might have been ticked off as problem solved, but people feel that yes, my problem did not get solved. So one can still have a broad-based complaint or a request which can move forward. So this is like a solution provided, right? This has been in news for quite a long. Why? Because the government has been popularizing that it is going to initiate the scheme. So last 3-4 days, it was in the newspaper ads. There's another term which will also come up. We will discuss that term maybe next Monday, that important term related to this, right? So reduction in the turnaround time, see? So this is how we are going to resolve these cases, by having a smaller turnaround time for the resolution of cases. See, these are the kind of keywords you should always remember. Turnaround time, right? A good keyword. All right. All right. Somebody says nice shirt. Thank you very much. Don't make me blush online. Javed says on his name, a national park is also there. All right, great. I will ask you about another national park here, right? I will ask you a question on national park. All right, great to know. Snapshot 2 is on donations received by regional political parties. See, there are two types of political parties: national political parties and regional political parties. Can somebody tell me the difference here, right? Can somebody tell me the difference if you have studied something about it? Now, this Association for Democratic Reforms, this is an NGO, a popular NGO, conducts research on political activities. It has found out that a huge amount of donations that have started to come up for the regional political parties and national political parties both, from unknown sources. Can you imagine that? This is how the government also streamlined the structure. This is under the national laws that donations can be provided to political parties, whether national or regional both, from unknown sources, right? All you got to do is, apply for giving these kind of donations under electoral bond, right? You need not mention the source, but you can purchase an electoral bond for 1,000, 10,000, 1 lakh rupees and put it under some of the SBI, State Bank of India branches at some particular time in the year. Every year you can do that. In fact, every quarter you can do that. So there are some norms for placing these kind of electoral bonds. And you can, all you got to do is put that money in the bank, right? They will give you a sheet of paper on which you write the name of the political party you want to donate it to, and your data will not be entered. Your data will not be entered that this person has given this amount of money. So I can donate any amount of money without my name being put on this document, right? Although the bank will have a document, bank will know, but it will not be revealed publicly. So this was one of the criticisms for introducing electoral bond schemes. The government can indirectly know the source, but the opposition will never come to know the source. And if you see the difference in the amount of political parties funding, you will come to know very easily. The party in power, that party gets more funds. It turns out usually true than not, right? The party in power will get more funds. Anyhow, electoral bond scheme itself has got some criticism. One of the important criticism is that there is opacity into who is the one providing these kind of funds, and it reflects very well, right, when we see these kind of statistics. So, note this kind of statistics. Association for Democratic Reforms, it says that around 55% of the funding have come from electoral bonds, right? and from the 95% of the unknown sources. See, people have to provide their names only if the amount is above a specific source, above a specific amount. Until then, they need not provide it, right? So it says in the national parties, right, 71% of the income is from unknown sources, right? And most of the parties are from the south. When we talk of regional parties receiving these kind of unknown donations, regional parties, right? So do remember that. Now, this also provides a chart in which talks about national parties receiving the funds. So this is the unknown sources. These are the known sources. Around 53% is the unknown sources at national level, and around 36% is the known sources. People have declared who are giving this funding. There are times when these big corporates also give some amount of money. They declare, right? But if black funding, if money from black sources have to be funded, they also get funded. This is absolutely true, and no questions are asked by the bank. How much money? What is your income? It is just to be paid, right? So this becomes important. Javed says 6% of total votes or 4 seats in the Lok Sabha for the national party. Absolutely, yes, absolutely correct. Otherwise, they are termed as regional parties, right? They may be contesting national elections also, but they are termed as regional parties. Okay. So how many national parties does India have? Anybody? How many national parties do we have? All right. So now there are certain terms and conditions given here. For example, political parties cannot receive donations above 2,000 in cash from one person. This was a major regulation which was passed later on, after which the electoral bond scheme also came. But so after that, one important source became the electoral bonds, right? So this becomes important, right? Now India also introduced ban on foreign contributions, but the foreign companies could also pay provided they have a branch in India, right? So this is it. This is one. Now, does state also fund elections in some way or the other? Does the government legitimize its own funding for funding the elections to various political parties, political party A, B and C? Does government also contribute to this fund or not? This is one question, and this is an important reform also. There are several countries in which the government allocates, say suppose 25 lakh rupees. 25 lakh rupees will be given to all the political parties for their funding of election, for their election funding each. But right now this is not happening in India. But yes, government indirectly or somehow does fund the elections in some way or the other. For example, providing some airtime, some time on All India Radio, some time on national television, so that those people of political parties, they can have their some of their advertisements, right? The government also is consider it in some or the other ways to political parties, all of them equally, right? But then there is an important issue: should the government be completely funding the elections or not? Yes, it should be, because we see during these times of elections there is a lot of black money which gets circulated, and because different amount of money is available with political parties, different amount with different political parties. For that same reason, there is disparity in the election results also. Okay. So this is it. Although there is annual audit and all, but then this is all half-hearted. There are major lacunae in electoral bond schemes. Okay. All right. People are saying there are 8 political parties which are at national level. All right. Okay. Global coal pledge. Now this is a pledge which has been taken by some of the developed countries and some of the developing countries, but it has not been taken by countries like India, China, USA, Brazil, right? So these countries would not take this pledge. Why? One primary reason is these are either major producers of coal or major users of coal, right? So India, USA and China, you very well know that these are the top 3 emitters of the greenhouse global warming gases, right? So China being on top, and then we have USA and then India. These are the 3 countries, and some of the brave hearts which have taken this step of taking this coal pledge, they have said that they will reduce, in fact eliminate the coal consumption by 2030 for the developed countries and 2040 for developing countries. Some of those who have taken this pledge, only those. India has not taken this pledge because these are mandatory pledges. India will have to start cutting down its investment. In fact, the investments have to be completely stalled to begin with. This is a very, very major step. India is trying to use its coal in innovative ways. So that is why we study of blue carbon and green carbon, right? So India is trying to sequester the carbon right? But that is produced in coal processes. So one important mechanism is coal gasification, right, or carbon sequestration. India is trying to use its coal. Why will India stop the investment in these sectors? So India has not signed, right? Similarly, there are countries like Australia. Australia is one of the largest producers of coal around the world. Australia wouldn't sign this. So who has signed it? Countries like Poland, Indonesia, South Korea, Vietnam, Ukraine have signed this. These are those countries which are world's top 20 power generating countries, right? We are talking of Poland, South Korea, Vietnam and Ukraine. What a brave decision, yes? And some of the developed countries like Canada, Denmark, Poland, Vietnam and Chile and Germany have signed it. See, noteworthy is to understand that many of these are countries where less amount of coal is available or there are alternate sources of energy. Look at a country like Germany. It has got alternate sources of energy available, one of the most advanced countries in the world. So this is the reason that they have signed. It is not just presence of technology and being egalitarian and doing good for the world. It is also a strategic move, right? All right. The next one it says is China and India are the ones which consume 2/3 of world coal. 2/3 of world coal. So that is why they do not sign this kind of agreement right now, right? Why has India not signed? India has not signed because it is a finance issue, right? India wants more finances. 100 not 100 billion, it is $1 trillion India has claimed for, right? Then India has good coal dependence and India also talks of common but differentiated responsibilities. India says we will not curtail down our energy production, conventional energy production, till the time historical responsibilities are met. India is not responsible for this kind of pollution rise. And therefore, developed countries should pay first and then we will also bend our ways, right? So this is what is the update here, right? This is a small cutout from Times of India we have put here from today's newspaper itself, right? So it just talks about what are the climate pledges around the world, okay? All right, this day in history has been dedicated to Salim Ali. All right, all of you were correct. He is an ornithologist and a naturalist. Now he is one person, the first person who was of non-British origin who was awarded the gold medal of the British Ornithologist Union in 1967. Imagine that. And today is his birthday. November 12, 1896 is the date he was born. Not only that, there are two important bird sanctuaries that we are talking of here, right? Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary and Ranganathitu Bird Sanctuary. Tell me, where are they located? Where are they located? Where is this Ranganathitu Bird Sanctuary located? Anybody? And where is Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary located? Tell me that. So this is his birthday. Important person. Do remember his name. All right. He has also received a couple of Padma awards, Padma Vibhushan and Padma Shri. All right. So very, very acclaimed. Featured news for today is on reforming public procurement. A very important news article update from here, and one of the segments of this is government e-marketplace, right? So we will study about this in the featured news at 6:45 p.m. live, and till then we will cover rest of the articles of this Gazette. All right, absolutely, Kriti. The second one is located in Karnataka, the one which has got a technical, a little catchy spelling, and Bharatpur, Rajasthan, Bharatpur, absolutely correct. Bhabani, absolutely. Rising sea levels. Now, this is where you see one of the ministers of a small country, Tuvalu, which has got a residentship of very, very few thousands people, and he is delivering a speech from, standing knee length in water. What is the reason? He is indicating the level of sea level rise in this particular country, in this island in the Pacific, right, located between Americas and Asia. All he wants is that there must be rights given for these kind of countries, Polynesian, Micronesian, Melanesian countries, and countries at other places which are on the verge of getting drowned. In fact, in the coming times, these countries will start to seek refuge in different countries, and there is already an association of such countries in the Pacific which are trying to relocate to Australia, New Zealand and other countries in the Southeast Asia, and that is why they do have better relations with those countries. Just like we see incoming population in India from Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, Australia, New Zealand see population incoming from these countries, right? And we have a legitimate humanitarian reason as well, right? So this is an update from here, and they want their recognition as a state even when the islands get drowned. even when they're islands, their territory gets drawn. See, declaration of a state involves quite a few things, right? So one is they must have territory, then they must have people, then they must have a governance form, right? A form of governance. They also should have government. So there are 3 or 4 of these parameters. Among them, if they do not have territory, can it be called as a legitimate state? Ideally, it cannot be. So they have started to claim a state for themselves even after when the land gets drowned. All right, legitimate cause. If the world is compassionate enough, they will get some land and they will be called as a country even later. So do remember, these are the kind of examples you should be able to give, no? Right? This is just common awareness. And that is the reason I say that our magazine, our daily magazine can cover all the aspects of UPSC preparation, right? Gives you a perspective as well. So do remember this kind of example. Tuvalu's Minister for Justice, Communications and Foreign Affairs, he's speaking from, the water. Terms and concept. The first term and concept for today is Airshed. Have you heard of Airshed? Now, Airshed is a place which is affected by the same air mass all the time. Air mass. So what is an air mass? Air mass is a large column of air, right? 3-dimensional column of air which keeps moving slowly from one place to another, and it affects the climatic conditions at one place. And air masses do interact. This is one air mass, and another air mass also will interact with each other. This will also give rise to some climatic phenomena. Sometimes rain, sometimes some small thunderstorms. So it also leads to, if you have studied, temperate cyclones. Now, these airsheds is defined as those geographical area that are affected by the same air mass, similar air mass every time. Now, this is in reference to Indo-Gangetic area. Every year we see fog happening, and because of increased industrialization and now stubble burning, we have seen increased presence of smog as well, right? In the last 15-20 years, increased smog and fog, which was always there. So that is why the Indian subcontinent, especially the northern part, is affected by an air shed, right? So this becomes an air shed, right? This is a geographical area which is affected by the same air mass, right? So you will call this area as an air shed. This becomes important because NCR region is reeling through this kind of pollution, smog. That is what we will call as, right? So this becomes important. And what are the reasons for that? See, one important reason is anthropogenic reason. The second reason is, imagine the northern Indian plains. One side we have the alluvial plains, right? So these are the soil areas with loose soil, area with loose soil, and on the other side we see deserts, right? On that we see natural conditions like the slow blowing of wind. The wind also starts to blow very slow later on in winters, and during the times of winter the particles also try to settle at the bottom. So anthropogenic factors also aided with natural factors, and due to the presence of Himalayas, see, the image so rightly depicts it. Because of the presence of Himalayas, the air cannot move around in the northern direction at all. So you see this 3D image says Punjab pollution, Haryana pollution, and Delhi industrialization, and then we have factories being set up, and there is nowhere for the air to move around. Where will it go? It will come to these areas. And I've been reading newspapers for the past quite a bit of time. I mean, a couple of decades. So the foreign dignitaries around the world, they do not plan visit to India because of rising air pollution. Imagine that. That is the level of gravity of situation we are talking, right? It is a national shame in some or the other regard. America criticized India innumerable times during the time of Bush administration, during the time of Obama administration, and that is when India started to work on NCR pollution. All right. The second term for today is peak power deficit. Now, peak power deficit ideally means the amount of power that is needed at one time and the amount of power that is available at that specific time. So the power that is available during the peak times, right? And how much is the deficit that time? This becomes very significant, because if we are not able to provide power at all times, then some or the other curtailment of power will be there. There will be power outage at some place or the other. These power outages usually happen if you are seeing in a diurnal. That means in 24 hours, it can happen during the day, because these are the times when industries, factories, outlets, they run, right? Industrial activities and all the kind of trading happens daytime. This is one. If you see seasonal variation, then in a tropical country like India, it is the summers. Why? Because these are the times when increased demand of power is there at a house level, household level, and office level also, because of air conditioning, right, cooling. But if you go to the temperate countries, the demand is also more in winters. We have covered this. Why? Because winters is the time when they try to consume natural gas or the these conventional non-conventional electricity sources, so that they can warm their interiors, right? So peak power deficit has only decreased with time. This is what has been said by the Union Power Ministry, right? It has only decreased with time. Okay. And there have been various schemes like Saubhagya scheme and IPDS, Integrated Power Development Service, which have aided to this. They have tried to electrify the whole of country, but all these schemes also have their shortcomings. See, 100% electrification that we talk of our country, if you go and read the terms of that scheme, you will be surprised to know, because in rural part of the country, if you say that we have given 100% electricity to every villages, is that true? Is it true that every person in every household has a bulb inside their home? No, that is not true. If you see one of the clauses of 100% electrification, a couple of years back, it said that around 10 to 15%, that was the percentage, if I remember clearly. This is just gain the essence, not the data here. Only this fraction, a very small fraction of the homes in that particular rural area should have electrification. Only that person. And only one important criteria was that the village center, that means where there is Gram Panchayat, where the Gram Sabha collects and meets, the village resource center, VRC, those are the places where Anganwadi center, that building should have electricity. So couple of important conditions, and they say yes, the village has been 100% electrified. Rest of the electrification will follow, right? So these are shortcomings of these schemes. However, government says that 100% electrification has happened. Okay. Like-minded developing countries. All right. Now, this is where India becomes a part. India has some interest, and we are talking of some like-minded developing countries here. What is it about? So, India, along with several other countries, developing countries and the underdeveloped countries, they have formed an association, and they are demanding for finances, right? Because of the historical disadvantages, they have started to demand for $1.3 trillion. Some of the African countries are also a part of it, and they are formally negotiating at COP for this amount, so that they can be given this amount every year, and they can also accordingly reduce the level of conventional energy, conventional gases, greenhouse gases production, right? So do remember the term like-minded developing countries. It has been in news this time only, right? So it has begun this time only. Do remember this term, right? Now, if you are writing the main this time or the next time or the next to next, these kind of terms become important, because the examiner will come to know that you have read something of the current affairs as well. Like-minded developing countries. Goa Maritime Conclave. Now, this was held recently in Goa. India is the one who hosted, and it hosted some countries from the Indian Ocean region. What was the agenda? To show power, to show intent that India can also participate in humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, HADR. Remember this keyword. Not only that, open sea lanes, OSL, right? Freedom of navigation. So do remember these keywords, because, and then when we talk of all this, we also talk of sea piracy, right? So and also the increased presence of countries like China, and that is the reason we don't want to talk about China directly. We'll talk of open sea lanes, right? Freedom of navigation. So for these reasons, certain countries from the Indian Ocean region, they met in Goa. They demonstrated their capabilities, their cooperation with each other. See, countries might have ships from different places. No, if Pakistan wants to participate, lately, just this week, China passed on one of its biggest ships to Pakistan, right? So that Pakistan Navy could get empowered. Similarly, India takes some of the ships from France, something from Australia. So all these ships, suppose they are collaborating, and Vietnam has a ship from USA, suppose. So they are collaborating with each other, but each of them have different technical specifications. Their technicalities in the engine, in the command and control center, they'll be different, right? Their operation structure will be different. The signals to be given are different. To be able to cooperate with each other, they will have to hold these kind of meetings, right? So this conclave was not just a meeting. This also was a place where they could demonstrate their facilities. India also demonstrated innumerable facilities here, right? So this is the update, right? Time for editorials. We'll quickly understand the 3 editorials here, right? And after that, the case for today, okay? Interesting editorial, the first one. If you guys are there and you appreciate the effort, do share some love on us. Just these likes and some comments, some inputs, they'll be very helpful for us to grow. All right. The first one is about the exports of India. India has said that by the end of this year, India wants to have a $400 billion export economy, $400 billion by this year, and 500 by the end of 2025, before in fact 2025. This is what the Ministry of Commerce has released, $500 billion export economy. And if India needs to grow, in future, people are saying there are two important things that can help. One is digitization of the economy, and the second one is export. And I will want to share a very, very beautiful opinion why it is said so, why export is going to help. So let's understand that. The first thing to understand is that during COVID times, the economy dipped. It dipped very much, and it declined to around 24%, right, in the first quarter of 2020. Decline, that means if 100 was the production level, it went down to 76 during COVID times, the first quarter. But in the first quarter of the next year, it also rose back again to around 20%. So it has come up almost at the same place, right? The production levels, it is a very good thing. And who is to be given, the pack for the export? The export-led sector has done wonderful job. Merchandise export has done a wonderful job. Not only India, China and the Asian tigers, that means South Asian countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, China, all of them have done well in exports this time, right? Now, this is the time, if you see Europe, Russia, countries like Germany, UK, they are reeling through COVID right now. 3 lakh plus cases per day. And this is second or third of such kind of COVID wave that these countries are going through, and their economy is still disturbed, very much disturbed. And if you see the economy of China, it is again disturbed. How? See, Chinese economy right now is going through something called as I have discussed this term, the common prosperity, right? Do you remember this term we discussed? Common prosperity, where Chinese government is trying to tax the richest of the rich so that it may be able to redistribute the finances with the poorer population. China's Gini coefficient is very high. It is only called to be a communist economy, socialist economy. However, it is capitalist in many ways. So common prosperity is what China is going through. That means it will not give rise to profit-making ventures. Not only that, there are various other issues. For example, the real estate crisis, Evergrande crisis. We have covered this. The power crisis in China. The reduction in pollution measures in China. China wants to demonstrate itself as an important country. It wants to reduce pollution. The rising wages, geopolitical adversities, all the countries, they are rounding up China. So these are the disadvantages China has. What about aging population? India has average population at 29. China has around 38. Japan has around 47. So when we see, India has got that advantage. India has also got the advantage of lesser wages here. So India is the country which is the country for future. Put this in essays. Put this in your paper 2, paper 3, international relations paper 2 and paper 3 economy sector, right? Where will not they ask what is the way India can grow? A couple of questions will be asked, have to be asked, and you can put this as a pointer. If at all export driven economy comes, there you go. This is the answer here, right? So this type of pointers or statements can definitely be put in your answer. Put them across, right? So this is what the first editorial is about. This editorial also says that India and China have similar export to GDP ratio. Can you imagine? Similar export to GDP ratio, around 18% of the GDP is exports, both the countries. But because China's GDP is far higher than India's GDP, that is the reason that their export is far bigger. That is the reason China is called as the factory of the world, and India is called as one of the important consumers of this factory. India is also called as the office of the world. China is called as the factory of the world, because a good amount of proportion of our GDP, also service GDP, goes for export, and China's good amount of production GDP also goes for export, right? So India has got the potential to raise its level of exports. This is an important editorial regarding the same. Okay, forms sense, no? It forms complete sense. Are you guys there with me? You guys there? All right. Moving ahead, the second editorial is on vaccine equity. See, India, South Africa have started to claim last year itself that if countries have developed vaccine, why don't you share the formula with us for vaccination, so that we create that vaccine in our country again, right? But many countries in Europe, they are not ready to share their formula. So this fight is happening at World Trade Organization. WTO is the one which decides how the trade should happen, where there should be trade balancing and where not should there be trade balancing. And if there is some intellectual property which has been accorded to a particular country, to a particular organization, whether this intellectual property should be broken and it should be awarded to every country or not. WTO decides that. So they have been asking for TRIPS waiver so that there be vaccine equity. India can still develop vaccines. What about Vietnam? What about the underdeveloped countries in African region? If you see the amount of inequality in vaccine reception, you will be surprised to know the G20 countries, India included, has 15 times more access to vaccines than many of the sub-Saharan countries. So 15 times more access, right? Our population, around 70 to 80% people have received at least one dosage of vaccination. And the excess is around 15 times more than what is in African countries. They would be dying. We don't even have the data and statistics, right? Now, India, just today's newspaper, India is also talking of giving the third dosage as well, a booster dosage for vaccination. The policy for which will be later released. This is just a random update, but important. What I am trying to show is to show to you is that there is a vaccine inequality around the world, and many of the European countries, they have gone through 70% vaccination, a complete vaccination, double doses, and they are also focusing on booster dosage. So this is where, European Union, what it says is that we will not want to break the TRIPS waiver. What we want you to do is exercise compulsory licensing. We will not give you the formula, but you are free to operate yourself, free to operate and create the drugs even by the same method. We don't mind. But is it possible? Is it possible? Unless and until they do not share the exact formula, we will have to rediscover the wheel. Rediscovering the wheel means we'll have to invent everything from the beginning. This smaller countries, the underdeveloped countries cannot do. They will take years and years to come up. So this formula needs to be shared, right? Even if the patent barrier is broken, the trade secret is not broken, no. The trade secret is the one which is going to yield these kind of productive results. So this forms the keyword for this kind of article: patent barrier and trade secret, right? Remember this. This is a part of paper 3 economy, right? Becomes very important. Now, India had earlier utilized this clause of compulsory license. So India developed a generic variety of Bayer's cancer drug in 2012. Right? India did not, ask for the new mechanism, but India developed this drug by itself in 2012 by compulsory licensing. But India was criticized globally by America, by other countries, that you are using these kind of clauses for your own advantage. So these kind of advantages, if worked under TRIPS agreement, right, legal agreement where there be waiver to TRIPS, right, this is the key way to go ahead, right? So in fact, WTO is bound by international human rights to protect the health of every person around the world. So it is WTO's duty to give TRIPS waiver, which EU is opposing. See, EU talks of human rights, but you can see very well what EU is doing right here, right? Okay. All right. Thank you for acknowledging Bhabani, Anil, Ashish, Kriti, Amlan, Sam. Great. Great. Very well. Very well. I hope I form sense while I talk here, right? All right. Time to step up cover for natural calamities. We have seen increased number of natural calamities. India is one of the receivers of these kind of calamities. India is one of the countries which is among the top 10 of being the most vulnerable to reception to natural calamities. We do not fall short of floods. We do not fall short of tropical cyclones, earthquakes, tsunamis, drought, landslide, hailstorm, whatnot. We have all of them, right? Many tropical countries do not go through hailstorm, but India goes through that. Many tropical countries in inland area do not go through floods, but we also do go through that. Earthquakes, tsunamis, all of them, right? So because India is a country which is very diverse, we are going through all of this. And that is the reason that we need some kind of insurance for calamities also, right? Some kind of insurance, if people have, it will help them recuperate. It can help them get back up soon, start their work, livelihood, daily activities soon and become normal, right? Now, we had discussed one important report, All India Debt and Investment Survey report. So did we cover this report or not? It's a question. All right, we did cover this report. All you got to type is debt and investment, Edukemy on Google. You will be able to find this report. We just covered this 3 weeks back. So this report, it speaks that in rural areas, top 10% of people own 50% of assets. See the disparity. Top 10% people own 50% of the assets, but the bottom 10% people, bottom 50% people own just 10% assets. A very easy statistics to remember, but for that you will have to at least remember this, right? Also along with the name of the organization. All India Debt Survey conducted by NSO, National Statistical Organization, right? So this is how your data becomes credible. This had said this. Now the point I'm making here is that if you see increased disparity among asset holders, this becomes aggravated because of the natural disasters. The poor person becomes poorer, and the rich becomes maybe less poor, but the poor becomes more poorer. The way they go down, their economy, their livelihood, their survivability goes down. It is nothing as compared to the richer person, and this is why there is increased disparity in their complete lifestyle, life, as far as natural calamities are concerned, right? So that is one of the reasons which is making them more poor, right? So we need, that is the reason that we need a better structure for just a bit. And that is the reason that we need a better structure for having for giving them insurance cover, right? So what is it going to do? It is going to provide them climate risk finance. This is one. It is also going to give them proper insurance. So these are the important things that is going to do. And which is the organization which must initiate this? It is IRDAI, Insurance Regulation and Development Authority of India. They have to spread awareness amongst people. They have to start institutions which can have this kind of insurance facility. So we currently go through life insurance. We currently have accident insurance. We also have vehicle insurance. Why don't we have disaster insurance also? Calamity insurance. Now, when we talk of COVID, and we talk of vaccine indemnity, you know this term? Have we covered this? Of course, we have covered this. Vaccine indemnity during corona. So in case a foreign company is providing COVID vaccine to us and it has side effects, what happens? Do we have some insurance against that or not? So right now, this is what India was fighting for, and foreign countries are not ready to, foreign companies are not ready to give this kind of vaccine cover, insurance cover to us. So that is what the conversation is about. But the point here being, do we have insurance for these kind of calamities or not? Presently, no, we need that. And this becomes a part of social and environmental governance. ESG. ESG is a keyword being used often in the market these days. ESG, environment and social governance. All right. And the case study, here is the case study for you guys. So case study for you is from the Khasi community. This is the community from Meghalaya, and it is popular for certain reasons. Also popular because we have Khasi Hills, right? United Nations FAO has itself recognized this community because it has done some wonderful things. Natural lifestyle, natural way of cultivation of food, preservation of their ecosystem. So first thing that it does is the development of secondary forest. Now they are into jhum cultivation. So once they cultivate their fields, and after that they burn the place. So they also sometimes do plant trees there. So this is how it helps. So secondary forest, this is one. The other one is they also conserve the forest food, the forest weeds also, so that they can eat them during the times of necessity and need. Right, so they do consume these kind of forest food and weeds also, something that a lot of communities do not do that. So this is some traditional knowledge that they have. This is one. And they also grow some certain kind of climate resilient crops. So this is how this community, Khasi community, becomes a little prominent. Some traditional knowledge and giving them some benefits of these traditional knowledge always aids the whole country, because we can emulate these practices at other places also. Right, in Africa also we have covered some of the sub-Saharan African states have started to cultivate the conventional and the indigenous crops, indigenous and conventional crops, and their demand in Europe is also high. We have covered those in some of the other this section itself, the section on these beautiful terms, no. So this is what becomes important to understand, that Khasi tribe also does this, right? So these are some of important practices, best practices around the country. Remember Khasi tribes for the same, and in a couple of minutes we will meet immediately for the feature news discussion, right? So till then, join the other link so that we may be able to begin the other session. All right. Thank you for watching. And Sam asks, sir, all the people will get this insurance? This insurance is only being planned, Sam, right now. The insurance is not being, we are talking of insurance for the calamities, and if the government provides for, in future, this insurance free of cost for everybody, or provides some share of the cover, yes, people will get covered around it. But right now, it is only spreading the awareness that there should be an insurance of this sort as well, right? So that is the update here. We will see you quickly. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part.